Alrighty, let's try this again. You guys can't tell this, but I screwed up pretty bad on the last slide. So this is actually my second recording of this video. So let's hope I do things right this time. So we talked about measuring with inches and feet because we were talking about the imperial system. We're going to talk about measuring larger distances. So the next largest unit is the yard. So if you've ever played golf or followed the PGA Tour, in golf courses, all the distances are in yards. Now, if you're a good golfer, not like myself, you can drive the ball 300 yards off the tee, which is very impressive. The word yard actually comes from the ye old English word gyard, which means stick. So just to give you a referent for different about how far a yard is, it is about the width of the front door, or the distance from your nose to the tips of your fingers when you stretch your arm to one side. It's also pretty close to the length of a belt or the height of a kitchen stove. But if you want to know exactly what it is 3 feet or 0.9411 meters. Alright, so converting yards to feet. On the third hole at a local golf course, the distance from the tee to the green is 174 yards. I want to know how many feet is this distance. So this is just a straight up converting question. So we're going to set up our skeleton equation. The first number is from the question, so 174 yards. And I want to change it into feet. So on my previous slide, it said that 1 yard was exactly 3 feet. And you'll find that on your formula sheet too. So my second number is 3. So a foot is about the size of a foot, and a yard is about the width of a door. So a foot is smaller. So when I'm changing to a smaller unit, my number gets bigger. So I multiply. So 174 times 3. Let me just grab my calculator. 174 times 3. Boom! I messed up. I went divided by. Let's try that again. 174 times 3. There we go. 522. 522 feet. That's my answer. Okay, let's do one more example. Jack's driveway is 57 feet long. I want to change that distance into yards. So again, straight up converting question. Oh, look at that fancy pink dotted line pen for my skeleton equation. All right, so the first number is from my question, 57 feet. And I want to change that into yards. Again, we know from the previous slide that there's 3 feet in a yard. But this time, since I'm changing to the bigger unit, my number needs to get smaller. So 57 divided by 3. 57 divided by 3. 19 yards. And that's my answer. Cool, cool, cool. Right, so when measuring even longer distances, we're going to use miles. So a mile is bigger than a kilometer. Okay, I just want to get that out of the way right now. A mile is longer than a kilometer. As a matter of fact, the mile is about 1.6 kilometers. So in the United States, distances and speed limits are posted in miles and miles per hour. Unlike in Canada, where all of our speed limits and distances are in kilometers and kilometers per hour. So on one of our highways, you might see a speed limit sign for 100 kilometers per hour. If you're in the States, you might see a sign for 60 miles per hour. However, they're very, very similar speeds. So the exact distance of a mile is about, no, not about, is exactly 5,280 feet. Now, the word mile originated in ancient Rome. In Rome, 2 steps were called a passus. A passus was about 5 feet. 1,000 passus was the Roman mile. In English, the word mile comes from the Latin word mille. I said that with a French accent. Anyway, which means 1,000. So how many steps in a mile? The passes was 2 steps. So 1,000 passes would be 2,000 steps, which is still a pretty good approximation today. Right, so 2,000 good sized steps would be about 1 mile. All right, let's do some math. So, first example, I think it's my only example, is how many yards are in 5 miles? So we said 1 mile was 5,280 feet. And we also said that 1 yard was 3 feet. Right. So unfortunately, I don't have it right here. You have it on your formula sheet. You could just change it straight into yards. But I have to go the scenic route here because I can't remember. So I want to set up a skeleton equation here. And this is what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to change 5 miles into feet. Then I'm going to change feet into yards. So I'm going to do 2 skeleton equations. So first, I want to change 5 miles into feet. Right. So feet is way smaller than a mile. And there is 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So because I'm changing to a smaller unit, my number's got to get bigger. All right, so I'm going to do 5 times 5,280. 5 times 5,280. Oh, look at that number. 26,400. 26,400. Make sure you write down what we're talking about. Our answer was in feet. Don't forget your units. So now I'm going to set up another skeleton equation. So I got to change feet into yards. I wanted my answer in yards. Alright, so now this is my number I'm starting with. The 26,400. And there is 3 feet in a yard. That's feet. I'm changing into yards. So because I'm changing into a bigger unit, this time I gotta divide. So I'm going to take that number and divide it by 3, because 1 yard is 3 feet. There we go, 8,800. So 5 miles is 8,800 yards. Cool. So sometimes if for some reason you don't have a formula on your formula sheet, you may need to do 2 steps like I did for this question. Alrighty. So now what I want you to do is work on these self-check questions. This is for this video and the previous one. Make sure you check your answers, ask me if you have questions, and have fun.